We got a lot to look forward to next season. I don't know. Because how are the Bengals going to put up 50 points a game but have, like, the worst defense ever? Do you think it's going to be, like, 50 points per game per team every week?
100-point games every week.
I can't tell if that's entertaining or is that terrifying. Welcome back to the James and Dame Show. I'm Josiah.
And I'm Will.
I don't know why that was funny.
It always is.
We've done that so many times. Why was that funny? Anyway, we're back talking about trades and free agency because obviously we couldn't cover everything, and obviously the moment we got done recording, a bunch of other things started happening. So
it's a continuous form that free agency takes, just constant news, and we just threw something in the middle. So we have to update on everything that has happened since we recorded, really.
Which is about a week ago now.
About a week ago. Yeah. So
I don't believe time exists. Anyway.
We'll be covering things as of 5:30 on March 18th. Because obviously things are going to happen. For example, we're still waiting on news on 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Well, kind of 3 if you throw Jameis in there.
Yeah. I mean, I got some news regarding one of them, but we'll get to that. But I kind of want to talk about the stuff that's like it just happened right after we recorded. So there was that big question mark of where Cooper Kupp was going. And obviously that was kind of answered. So Cooper Kupp to Seattle. That was not the place I expected him to go.
No, not well. I feel like we might have mentioned that at one point, but I think it was mostly when we were talking about trades, and we were like, I wouldn't go to a division rival. But since they switched it to cutting him, and he ended up just signing with them, it's not super surprising. The amount of money I feel like is
that was the surprising part.
Yeah, 15 a year, 45 over 3. I thought, just seemed like a lot.
Especially for his age of a receiver. And not saying that he's bad. He hasn't necessarily, I would say, regressed. He just hasn't gotten a bunch of targets this last season because Nakua was getting everything for a while.
He's also been injured a lot, and injuries have taken a toll on him.
That's also true.
So I just think it's a steep price, but, I mean, you need to get somebody. I mean, all you have there right now prior was JSN, and you have Sam Darnold throwing the ball. I mean, you need to get someone. So, Seahawks go out and get Cooper Kupp. What else did they do? They also made a move for longtime Cowboys edge DeMarcus Lawrence, which I thought was interesting seeing him actually leave. It's a 3-year deal, $42 million for the max, $18 million guaranteed. That came out March 12th.
Yeah.
So that one, I think it's a pretty good signing.
Because they've kind of needed that a little bit, especially with a couple of players bouncing to other teams or just retiring, especially like Bobby Wagner, because not necessarily him specifically filling that void, but like amping up that defense, because in general that defense was obviously no one's going to live up to that the Legion of Boom. So
no, but I think with them they're just looking for pieces. They're going for a lot of older pieces on like 3-year, $40+ million deals.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of expected because you mentioned it because they were looking to maybe rebuild. That's kind of been an idea that's been floating around, or at least between us, because you don't just go drop all of your talent and then just, get Sam Darnold, get a couple old guys. It sounds like a transition. So
Yeah,
that's
but
what happens when you're in a new regime, though.
I figured if you're going to go for a transition, you leave the cap open and you make smaller deals for not a, like, these are guys who could have potentially been a cornerstone for like a Super Bowl run, added like a veteran presence and been really helpful. But going to the Seahawks, I don't know. I think it's interesting.
Maybe they see something we don't.
Oh, I hope so. Otherwise, it's going to be
Maybe
real
another bad
interesting.
year.
But yeah, you did mention, or maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking in my own head. I definitely brought it up as DeMarcus Lawrence coming from the Cowboys. Looking at the Cowboys, some of the moves they made, they signed two running backs, in Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams. So,
That's who's going to block for him.
that's a good question. But I think even better is just really Miles Sanders, who didn't pan out with the Panthers,
Nope.
and Javonte Williams, who was a solid running back for the Broncos, but
He was all right. He wasn't like the breakout running back that they hoped for.
he was never the guy to really do anything, and that's why he left. Is he was more meant to be like a 2 or 3, but when you throw him in there as like a RB1, he wasn't really living up to the standards you wanted. So
Yeah.
now the Cowboys have two running backs, pretty decent running backs, I guess, who were just disappointing.
Yeah. Man, they're going all in this year again. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then there was the little bit of a back and forth between Lawrence and Parsons on the internet. I thought that was kind of funny. I think it's funny because Lawrence kind of eats his words a little bit, unless they prove us wrong next year. He says he wants to go win something. I'm like, you want to go to Seattle and you want to win something there? They haven't won anything in a while, so I guess.
I just Seattle's probably in a potentially worse spot than the Cowboys, and that says a lot because Cowboys really haven't. They get close most years, and just can't finish it. Seahawks are kind of just taking steps backwards. So
I don't know. Maybe we'll come back to this and maybe it'll change because I think Seattle could make at least a push to the wild card if things go out the way they want it to.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, things have to play out a certain way, but Cowboys and Seahawks are kind of both in a funk right now where they haven't truly moved on. They're not quite rebuilding, or at least reloading. I know that's what Seattle's doing with Cooper Kupp and Lawrence and everybody, but I don't know. I can't tell if it's a rebuild or a reload, and it doesn't look like either. It's like smack dab in the middle.
yeah, it's not. I don't really know what the Seahawks are doing, but compared to the Cowboys, I mean, maybe I don't know. Cowboys still just trying to figure out even a run game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They got to keep up with their division rival, the Eagles, though. I don't know if you saw the statistics, but Eagles have a lot of picks the next couple of years in the first round.
A lot of picks in the first round.
Or like not in 1 year, but like over the course of like 3 years. Like they got a couple picks per year in the first round, or they have a lot of draft potential, I guess is my point, is that they can really pick and choose who they want in the next few years. So sure, the Eagles lost a few players, but they can definitely reload real fast.
Let's talk about that. We got. Well, I mean, we can talk about some of the things that they've brought in.
Oh yeah,
Re-signing Lane Johnson.
Lane Johnson, yeah, that's good.
2 years. What is it?
I think it was
Adds $8 million
yeah, $8
over the
million.
next 2 years, and an additional 30 in guarantees.
Yep.
They did lose Brandon Graham to retirement.
Yeah, that was
Which-
kind of expected at some point.
Yeah,
So,
they've kind of had their team, especially like that front seven, decimated through free agency, but they've also kind of rebuilt. Starting with the Giants former Giants pass rusher, Azeez Ojulari. Only got him for, I believe it was like $8 million on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, it wasn't for much. And supposedly for a short time.
But he's one of those like signings. I don't know. I've kind of liked Azeez and what he could have been in New York, and so him going to Philadelphia, I think he can actually thrive a little bit more there, and especially if they give him some opportunities, I think he could really break out a little bit. But also, in the case that they don't, I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles go after an edge rusher in the draft, maybe. Other moves they made, they went out and got corner Adoree Jackson,
Yep.
who maybe hasn't been as good the last couple of years, but was pretty good a few years ago. And then who else did they get? They also signed, I know Packers fans are really sad about this, A.J. Dillon. They're really building up the quads in that backfield.
Oh my. Have mercy on the defenders who have to go stop those two.
So
It was bound.
that's a few of the guys I have signings I have of note for the Eagles. Although there was one piece that got moved out of Philly to Houston. And I'm curious what you think about this, because first glance, I wasn't a big fan of it, but now that I've sat with it for the Texans.
I understand it. I just don't know, because we talked about this last week, where we were concerned about who the heck is going to protect C.J. Stroud from dying in the backfield.
Yeah, and for context, it's the Eagles traded C.J. Gardner-Johnson and a 6th to the Texans for Kenyon Green and a 5th. And the reason why this sat poorly with me was because of the thing you just mentioned, how the Texans needed linemen, and then they ship off a guard. And it's like, this seems like you're going the opposite direction. But then also looking back at what Kenyon Green was, which was not good. He was very bad. Getting rid of him is good for them. And getting C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who is a pretty good safety. I mean, I think he's a little bit overhyped.
A little overhyped, but yeah, I can see that.
So that really helps the Texans in their defense. So I think it's actually a pretty good move for the Texans, and the more I look at it, the more they still have an issue with O-line. That doesn't get fixed with this. It doesn't really, I don't think it's too much worse, because they needed to replace him anyways. Yeah. And now you've just gotten something for him. I'm more concerned about the Eagles getting someone who, like, maybe they can make something out of him, but after what you probably would have seen out of him over the past year, I don't know how you would even view him as a starter, and you gave up a potential starter. I don't know if they're planning to move on from him or what, but
we'll see. And what I meant by earlier for saying, well, I can see that for CJ for being good, that was just me thinking a little too far in advance, because I can see why the Texans went ahead and got CJ Gardner-Johnson, because that was a whole issue and everything. But I don't know. That's just not what I wanted to see out of them, especially for CJ Stroud. I'm just concerned because they haven't done anything.
They made another trade with the Vikings for it was a 2026 6th-round pick for Ed Ingram.
Oh, yeah.
So a smaller one there, and then I think honestly the biggest win though for the Texans is the re-signing of Derek Stingley, 3-year, $90 million. Well, I guess it's technically an extension, but $90 million extension, $89 million guaranteed. So
that's a lot of money.
If he gets cut, he only loses $1 million.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it makes him the highest paid defensive back in the league now.
Yes.
So, yeah,
it's kind of crazy. Let's see here. Do we want to talk about the big ones from Cincinnati right now, or?
Sure.
All right. So obviously the news has been speculating for like a while now. What the heck were the Bengals going to do with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins? Well, they gave us an answer, and oh my gosh, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I think it averages out to what 69 million, I believe, a
A
year,
year, yeah, about
for the
that.
two.
Yeah, because both of them are 4 years. Chase is 161 million. T. Higgins is 115 million in total. So
Yeah,
that's a lot of money.
I don't know if I said it here, but I knew Jamar Chase was probably going to get re-signed just north of what Miles Garrett got because he wanted to be the next highest paid player, non-QB. So
Non-QB,
40.25, he just outdoes Miles Garrett. And then T. Higgins, what did we? I think my conclusion on him last time was that the Bengals wouldn't move him because they would be too afraid to.
Yeah.
And so here they are keeping him, and now they only really have the option of offense because if they somehow manage to find the money to pay Trey Hendrickson as well, you're not going to have enough money for anybody else. So, I mean, they made the signing getting Oren Burks from the Eagles, who apparently is a pretty decent signing, as the populace has deemed it, but they need a lot of things going on there, and so like even just getting Trey Hendrickson back would be huge, but they need a lot, and so it's just gonna be hard for them to manage that. And that is about the only thing the Bengals have done is re-sign those two so far. So
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple other things that they retained, like Gesicki and a couple other of those guys, but not looking too great right now, especially on the defensive side. Most of the signings, the signings and retentions have been mostly offense, with a couple of defensive players here and there. But I don't know what else you're gonna do if you're a Bengals fan, because
not much.
where's the money going?
At least it'll be exciting football.
Yeah, but
It'll be a lot of offense, but it's
oh boy,
not. It doesn't. I don't have a lot of faith.
they need a culture change in the sense of the defensive side, because it's not good.
Yeah. Let's see who else. The Ravens. Nothing
yes,
too
yeah.
big.
Yeah.
Signing Cooper Rush as a backup to Lamar Jackson. Interesting.
I mean, Cooper Rush wasn't awful.
Yeah, he wasn't awful. It just is interesting how he'd fit kind of in that scheme.
Offense.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they saw him working with like a little in Dallas, and they were like, well, we don't have a lot for a passing game, so there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting. But to kind of add to that passing game, they did also go out and get DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep. What was it? 1 year, 15?
6 million.
6 million. Oh.
So they're getting him cheap is the
Okay.
one thing that I'm grateful for, because looking at it, and I'm like, they have a tendency to go after the veterans, the guys who are way beyond their prime.
Baltimore and Tennessee is where great wide receivers go to die.
Yeah, so I don't expect much out of him, but he's cheap and he can provide mentorship to, like, Zay Flowers, which
Yeah.
is just would be nice. He's not truly like a big threat, but we'll see what he can do, especially with like Lamar, because you never
Yeah.
know what Lamar can bring out of people with how well he can make things happen. So, not much there. Let's see who else is of interesting. I mean, here's someone who's been very busy over the past, well, since our recording. The Minnesota Vikings.
I was about to mention the Vikings. Yeah, they're doing pretty decently right now. Jonathan Allen, 3 years, $60 million.
Mm-hmm.
Defensive tackle Hargrave, 2 years, 30 million.
Completely redoing the interior, which and with two pretty solid starters from one from the Commanders being Allen and the other 49ers. He got picked up, I think it was later the same day after being released.
Yes. It should be the same day. Yeah.
But then Vikings also traded for Jordan Mason as well, so stealing another guy from the 49ers.
Yep. And then they got a guard, Will Fries, 5 years, 88 million.
Yeah, they got Will Fries and Ryan Kelly, both from the Colts.
Oh, yeah, Ryan Kelly. I forgot about him.
Ryan Kelly was a much smaller 2-year, $18 million.
Yeah, but he's
the
good.
The signing of Fries was big because, I mean, obviously you can see with the contract, but he was one of the best interior guys in the market. So they completely reworked that interior, reworking the trenches really, and then keeping it in house with a lot of guys going for like you mentioned, Harrison Smith, Aaron Jones. They also brought back Byron Murphy, who had a really good year last year. So they got they've made a lot of moves.
Going to New Orleans, though, I did want to talk about one person, Justin Reed.
Yeah.
3 years, 37.5 million. So he kind of followed the same path as
Tyrann Mathieu,
Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey
who
Badger,
re-signed
who also re-signed.
with the Saints, so they'll both get to be there.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting thing to see. I mean, Reed and Matthew are still, or Matthew's a little bit older, but he's still kicking. And so
Yeah, you'll have Reed, Mathieu, and then you'll have Kim Jordan and Chase Young.
it's not bad. Could be better. It's not bad. It's a great start.
Yeah, I just don't know where all the money came from and how they were able to pay these guys all this money, and then also how they went from the most broke team to now they have 20 million to work with still.
The black market.
I don't understand.
I don't know where else they get that money.
But Justin Reed, I think is a great signing because he's been fantastic. Tyrann Mathieu, he's been okay. Chase Young, if you still believe, 3-year, 50. You're paying him 20 million more than you're paying Justin Reed,
Which is crazy.
Justin Reed is a lot
Better.
I think it's probably a lot better unless they
Reed
really
is so
see
much
something
better.
with Chase Young.
Chase Young hasn't been the same since he left Washington.
No, he didn't even live up to it there. He's not been great. He's suffered a lot of injuries. Has been a lot of his issues. But let's see who else made some moves. Patriots
have a whole list right now.
still taking advantage of all of that money that they have at their dispense, and they still got a lot.
Yeah, they got Josh Dobbs, 2 years, 8 million. I don't know if we covered him at all. What else did they get? Did we cover Harold Landry at all?
I think we kind of skipped over him. Solid edge piece they got. They did go out and get Mac Hollins. Let's see. Garrett Bradbury was released by the Vikings, and so they picked him up.
Yeah, I see him now.
Let's see. What other things? They're expected to release David Andrews, longtime Patriot, longtime center. I think he goes back to the Tom Brady era. He was there. He's been there for a long time, and so he's been with them for 10 years.
Jeez.
So he's been there for a while, and they're moving on from him because, they're rebuilding, and so it's unfortunate, but also kind of expected with that sort of new era where even the old reliable veterans you move on from.
Yeah.
So unfortunate, but
he's got a couple of rings though.
Yeah, he got a few rings. Let's see who else. Chiefs, nothing too interesting. Bring back Kareem Hunt. Signing Gardner Minshew.
Minshew was one I saw.
Christian Fulton signing. I think was actually a pretty solid one.
Yeah.
But I think more than anything they've done, the biggest thing they did was restructure the contracts of Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones, clearing almost $50 million for this next year. Obviously, that's going to push it down the road because that's how restructuring works. It's pushing money down the road. So, Mahomes, I think in like a year or two is going to be worth like $70 million is going to be what he's due that year.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see how they handle that. But yeah, clearing $50 million though is pretty
impressive.
sizable amount.
Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do though, because I don't know if we did mention this, but Juju Smith-Schuster also got signed to a 1-year deal.
Yeah,
I don't think there's anything contract-wise that's been published yet, but
No, not yet. Let's see who else.
they got Bailey Zappi.
I did not see that. The Falcons.
Oh yeah, Falcons.
I think the biggest news is that they are not cutting Kirk Cousins. They're going to look at shopping him.
Yeah.
But as of right now, they've not designated him to be released, and so the Falcons are just open to trade him, and if not, he'll, I guess, sit around as a backup. But you got to expect that they openly try to make a move. I would be kind of disappointed if they just sat there and were like, "Come to us." It's like this is not a player you can just wait around for someone to come and get.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, the biggest name that they retained was Jake Matthews for 2 years, 45.
He's been a pretty solid tackle. They did go out and get pass rusher Leonard Floyd.
They did get Floyd
from the 49ers, and I don't know if you've started to notice a trend here, but the 49ers are just being absolutely decimated. Like, their team has been ripped apart. Another piece from the 49ers, as we mentioned it, that has been ripped away from them. Broncos, already having stolen Hufanga, also took Dre Greenlaw.
Yep.
Shortly after our last video, as well as also going out, and we kind of mentioned this, they went out and got Evan Ingram.
Yep. They got
Which
Ingram.
was the speculation, and that signing I think is huge. The Broncos are having a great offseason.
Yeah.
You get Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw, Evan Ingram. Who else did they get? They got
Not a couple of the people I thought. They got a corner, didn't they? No, was it corner or safety? What am I thinking of?
I don't know exactly what you're thinking of. They re-signed Sternad, their linebacker. They've made some re-signings along the line. They went out and got Trent Sherfield. But I think, again, bringing in Hufanga and Greenlaw is huge, and then Evan Ingram's going to be a great weapon. Now, if they can just get a receiver or a running back, they'd be in such a good spot.
I was thinking of DJ Jones. That's who I was thinking of.
Oh, yeah.
For some reason, I don't know why.
He's a little bigger. He's a little bigger than your average corner.
Yeah, a little bit bigger. I was like, it was a defensive player. I couldn't remember who it was.
But yeah, Broncos, I think, are in a really good spot, especially if Bo Nix continues to grow. But if you get him either another wide receiver or you get him a running back that he can truly lean on, they're going to be in such a good spot because, I mean, again, Ingram's going to be great. Defense is going to take another step forward.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the Broncos.
Also, the AFC West is kind of on the rise a little bit. Like, they're both the Chiefs haven't lost any momentum, but they're not really gaining any momentum right now, especially with this offseason. It's mostly the Broncos that has been making the biggest moves. Raiders a little bit, Chargers a little bit. They're just, both of those teams are kind of cleaning house, but Broncos are definitely trying to pose a threat for that AFC West crown.
I mean, so the thing is, we have seen that before. Almost every year prior is, the AFC West is going to be really competitive.
That it doesn't end up being that way.
It doesn't, but this year...
This time it actually looks somewhat hopeful for a competitive AFC West, mostly because the Broncos, with how last season has gone, look to be somewhat better.
I mean, and it does go beyond the Broncos. If you look at the Chargers, they went out and got Najee Harris, which you're losing Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. J.K. I think actually both are still available. I'd have to look. But Najee, I mean, especially $5 million over 1 year, he's pretty pretty cheap. And
not
he could still be someone who's really good. He ran behind a Steelers line who really didn't give him too much help.
No.
He left some to be desired, but I think there's some help, especially with what you're doing with Harbaugh, what he's been doing, because they continue to build that O-line. They go out and get Bradley Bozeman, or re-sign Bradley Bozeman, but also sign Andre James from the Raiders. They signed guard Mekhi Becton, who
Yeah.
I thought was big because I was interested
Yeah.
to see what he did, because he turned around a bunch going from the Jets to the Eagles. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested to see how he steps up. They went out and brought back Mike Williams, which
that's true. Mike Williams is back.
interesting. They keep Khalil Mack. Obviously, we talked about that a bit, but they've been like making pieces that kind of reinforce what they've been doing. And now I think if they go into this draft, all they need is weapons.
Yeah.
You go in there and just get weapons for Herbert, and I think they're in a good spot. You already kind of have running back. Maybe you get another running back down the board, but I think they go into the draft with another year of, hey, we just need a receiver,
Yeah.
which I feel like has been how they've been for years.
For years, but it's been kind of that way. They just, I don't know why their draft picks, especially with wide receivers, have not been the best. But things are looking up for those two teams. Even the Raiders, who are kind of in a mess.
Yeah, I was curious to
they're
see
not-
what you thought about them, because like they were bad last
They
year.
were awful.
But some of the moves they've been making, it was like, but then some of them have seemed like pretty good.
Because I wasn't entirely on board with the Geno Smith signing, because it was Geno Smith hasn't, like, he's been okay, but he hasn't been like that guy who like will bring you guys to the promised land kind of quarterback. And
No, but I like the Seahawks weren't that team anyways.
Grant, yeah, that's true, but that was kind of the hope for, especially after Geno Smith's first year as a Seahawk, or at least as a starter, because he was like, oh, he's actually not awful. Let's get some support and we'll get somewhere. And then that didn't happen. But especially with, what was it? I know the Crosby signing was coming. Because if you can't retain Max Crosby, you don't deserve to be anywhere near the playoffs. But they don't look awful right now, especially with some of the signings. Jeremy Chin, Eric Stokes, Raheem Mostert.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to mention is like they went into this offseason being like they need to fix pretty much everything except Max Crosby.
Yeah, and they got
You got a
literally
quarterback.
everybody.
You got Raheem Mostert. They desperately need a running back, and he's not long-term solution. He's not the best option,
He's
but
the
he is an
stepping
option. You got Kappa on the O-line who will help. You re-signed Max Crosby, which is huge, but they went out and got Landon Roberts from the Steelers, who, from what I've seen, Raiders fans are really happy about. So
They're
they might
definitely
have
happy.
they might have gotten a much better player there. You go out and you get Eric Stokes to replace Nate Hobbs.
Yep.
Kind of probably a downgrade. And then, like you mentioned, Jeremy Chin, who's been a great player. So,
And then you had defensive tackle Adam Butler.
yeah,
Yeah.
They,
On
like-
top of that,
they've made moves. They've kind of
they're not flashy except Crosby.
no, they're not super flashy, but they didn't need. You don't need to be flashy. They just need to rebuild a team, and most teams do it through the draft. They just kind of decided, no, we're just gonna like build a new team around Pete Carroll,
Yeah.
and the way they've done it, they've done a decent job of putting some potentially key pieces on that Raiders team, and you still have a top 10 pick. What do you do there? Do you go out and get a receiver because you still need a receiver? You could go out and potentially get Ashton Genty, who would
That-
really, as a 1-2 with Mostert, could be really nice.
That's what I've been hearing, rumblings. Genty has slowly been kind of favored to go to the Raiders right now. But that's just some speculation. Obviously, things move around. But
Yeah.
I do think Genty as a Raider kind of makes sense. I like that idea. But I did want to talk about the Bills, specifically with
Oh,
Joey Bosa.
Yes, so
Um,
they've been doing stuff, moving pieces.
yeah.
But yeah, they what? So like you mentioned, they went out and got Joey Bosa, which I think the key there was you get rid of Von Miller, you bring in Joey Bosa. You kind of had the same concerns of injury and being older and not, prime. But I think Joey Bosa probably has a little bit more of a ceiling, but can he get there? They are paying less for him,
Yes,
and that's kind of one of the big things is
that's what they've wanted.
they bump it down. I think they save like $3 million
Yeah.
on a 1 year deal for Bosa.
I think 3 or 4. Yeah.
Who else? They re-signed Ty Johnson, which was pretty good for them. Re-signed DeMar Hamlin for only $2 million, which I mean he was a starting caliber safety last year, and he played pretty decently. So for $2 million, that's a pretty decent deal. They also went out and got Larry Ogunjobi,
Ogunjobi, yeah.
who I believe it was Ogunjobi and the edge they signed, Michael Hoyt, both got into trouble shortly after signing
Oh, yeah.
for with the Bills for use of PEDs, and I think they'll be
Something like that,
facing
yeah.
suspension. So
Good luck, Bills.
Hoyt luckily has a 3 year deal, while Ogunjobi only has a 1 year deal. So we'll see how long he actually gets to take advantage of that contract. But they made some moves. Let's see who else is worth talking about.
I'm trying to think here. There was a. We covered the Bears.
Briefly could cover the 49ers because, like we mentioned,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of their pieces have moved out.
So what the heck are the 49ers doing?
Yeah, pretty much all they did was they've released a lot of players, traded some players. One of those being Kyle Juszczyk, who everyone was very distraught over, just for the 49ers to bring him back on a 2 year, $8 million deal. So,
It says 9, but yeah.
uh,
CBS says 9, but
I forget who this was. This was like Schefter or something. So,
could be a typo. We don't know.
yeah. So it was an interesting move. Let's see who else.
They got Luke Farrell, 3 years, $20.25 million.
That was no. I'm thinking of the Commanders. Never mind.
And then Demarcus Robinson for 2 years, $9.5 million. They got Mac Jones, 2 years, $7 million.
Yeah, but this is a lot of downgrading.
Yeah, a lot of this is not good.
Like we talked about the Seahawks potentially making a wild card. Right now, the division's kind of wide open. I mean,
Yeah, it's kind of up for grabs, really. Depends on who actually wakes up to take it. That's the other thing, because that's what happened last year, where it was like, who's actually going to win the West this year?
I think this year it's looking like it definitely could be the Rams. Seahawks could sneak in and grab it, but they have a lot of
Yeah.
questions. Another team though who potentially could would be the Cardinals, who added a pretty decent piece in Dalvin Tomlinson, who is
yeah.
a pretty solid D lineman, and you put him
Yeah.
next to Josh Sweat.
It's pretty good.
Jonathan Gannon getting kind of a reworked D line, which is kind of all he needed, or what he really needed.
He really needed, yes, but I don't know, because the Cardinals have been kind of on this trend of where they sign all these players and then they don't pan out to what they expect them to be. So that's just kind of a trend for them. But I wanted to see what the Buccaneers were doing recently.
Not
They haven't been doing anything crazy, because I know they did all the re-signings and everything, but they haven't been doing a whole lot.
Yeah, as far as like new stuff, they got Anthony Walker
Yeah.
and Kendall Vildor, who were like not huge names, mostly re-signings. They, I believe, re-signed. Was it re-signed Sterling Shepard?
Yes.
I think because he was there prior. They re-signed him as well. But yeah, it's not been a lot of big stuff for the Buccaneers. They've
Nothing
been
too
mostly
crazy, no. I think that's all the major news that I think that's been broken recently. We're probably gonna miss one or two.
Let's see. What other stuff do I have? Since the video came out, we had talked about it, but it wasn't official. Now it is official. It was actually official pretty much a day after the video came out. Was the signing of Darius Slay.
Oh,
It was a
yeah.
1 year, $10 million deal. Let's see. The Jets are.
Oh, yeah. What did the Jets? They did something.
They released C.J. Mosley,
Yeah.
who was a pretty big piece. He was a pretty stud linebacker. Who's
They
turned veteran, and then
they signed Brandon Stevens, 3 years, 36 million.
yeah, I think that was
That was
prior.
that was prior though. Nothing new. It looks like.
Let's see. They signed former Steelers and Patriots tackle Chukwuma Okorafor. Probably butchered that, but getting some. They got some O-line help. There was some other names in there as well. That was just kind of the one I picked out. But they got some names on that O-line to help out. Justin Fields, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
it's good. It's a good spot for Fields, honestly.
yeah, I'm excited to see what they do there. Then there's Panthers.
Panthers have been kind of quiet.
They got Rico Dowdle.
Yeah, they
Not that
did.
much,
But
and they got
nothing recently, but they've been sneaky. They've been kind of quiet.
Little snake. They got They also signed Christian Roseboom from the
yeah.
Rams, who
Roseboom.
actually kind of made a name for himself last year. 11. He started 11 games and had a career high 135 tackles. So
Uh-huh.
he had a pretty solid year. So Panthers might actually be getting someone pretty good.
And the Panthers are kind of open. Like they've had tryouts, so they're literally taking everybody, and it looks like they're doing some good signings right now. So I'm kind of curious to see who will be the true starters and what they'll do, because it's not every day that you get it's very rare that you get teams that just get all these signings and picks and trades go their way. I mean, Commanders this year, Bills this year, Panthers a little bit. Let's see here. I want to say, trying to look at the teams that have been making a lot of moves this offseason.
Patriots. Have
Patriots for sure. Yeah, I forgot to mention them. Patriots for sure.
Yeah, there's some teams who they've made different moves in different ways. I mean, you look at the Cowboys; it seems like they've done a lot, but they traded for Kyrie Elam.
Yay!
Woo! They've made a lot of like really small moves because that's all they really do.
Yeah.
The two teams that like actually have, or the two other signings that I thought were actually interesting that happened, I believe, after, was the Giants. After missing out on Cameron Bynum, went and signed Javon Holland, 3 year, $45 million, and then the Commanders, also safety, go after Will Harris from New Orleans on an $8 million, 2 year, $8 million deal with up to $10 million. So, yeah, I mean, there's been not as much big news, but it's covering over a week rather than over a day, and so it's
you get the big news, and then you get the little pieces here and there, but nothing too crazy.
But yeah, let's take a look at, if you want, we can take a look at some of the guys who are still available from what I can see. That's my list.
There's only
a little out of.
There's a few major names.
Let's see what this is.
What is it?
Let's see. We got obviously the quarterbacks. Who the top three, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and Jameis
Winston,
have all visited the Giants or are in the process of visiting the Giants.
Yeah. I do want to mention, I think it just came out today, where I don't remember who it was, but one of the Steelers defensive linemen,
Cam Hayward,
thank you, came on air and was like, you either want to be a Steeler or you don't want to. And he said that to Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers has been dragging his feet,
so
like always.
There was news actually that came out about Aaron Rodgers and where he wanted to go. He listed one place he wanted to go, and that was the Minnesota Vikings. And it's funny because the way it seems is the Vikings. Aaron is like, I want to go to the Vikings. The Vikings are like, we don't know if we want you. And then there's the Steelers and Giants who are like, we'll take you.
We want you.
So
Come here.
I think it's so funny that he's like, I want to complete the legacy, and the Vikings are like,
No, we're good.
I don't know about that one, buddy. I don't know. So, but yeah, that is a talking point. Is Aaron Rodgers, where we think he will go? Knowing him, he might have his way with the Vikings. A lot of people are saying he's going to the Giants, which I think is interesting.
Rodgers?
Yeah. A lot of people are saying that his destination is the Giants, and I have been
So do you think the Steelers would re-sign Russell Wilson then?
not sure. Not sure.
Because there's only 3 major quarterbacks right now that are on the market, and was it at least 3 of them? 3 teams need them.
Well,
So-
there's a lot of Steelers hopeful who are hoping, because it's happened a few times in mock drafts, where Shadur Sanders has dropped quite a bit. And so they're a little hopeful that they'll be able to pick him up. And
That's not happening.
I-
I hope.
it'll be interesting. But yeah, Rodgers, the one thing I've been saying, because again, people have been saying him to the Giants, and I think the best thing for the Giants right now is you're in a rebuild. Like, you're in a really bad spot. Aaron Rodgers does not fix that.
No.
Instead of going after Aaron Rodgers, even if you do it and it's like, oh yeah, he can trade over. Bad idea. He's going to cause a mess. What they should do instead, trade with the Titans, get that number 1 overall pick, take what I'm seeing is probably the best option, Cam Ward,
Okay.
at number 1. Because you don't know if the Titans and Browns stay where they're at. You don't know if they're going quarterback or not. They might not. You know, behind you with the Patriots, they're fine. Like, they're not going to make a move for a quarterback.
Yeah.
But those 2 in front of you, there's 2 first-round quarterbacks. It could be, you have no idea if either of them are going to take them. Take advantage of it. Trade with the Titans. If they don't get a quarterback, they'll be like, oh no, we'll take Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter or whatever. Like, they can work with whatever. The Giants need a Cam Ward. They need someone. So if you get Aaron Rodgers, that's gonna mess up so much of that. So I've just don't
Giants
do it.
have been needing a new quarterback at the helm for a while. That's not old or Daniel Jones.
Yeah. Speaking of Daniel Jones, I actually completely forgot.
Oh, yeah.
He signed with the Colts.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Bro, the Colts are in such a mess this offseason with quarterback
It's the fact that he's actually competing
Beating-
with Anthony Richardson for the starting
for
job.
the starting position. And if you can't beat Daniel Jones for that starter position, you don't deserve to be a starter in the NFL. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So this might be the last time we see Anthony Richardson as a starter.
I'm sure at some point, unless he really turns it around this year, we're probably going to see Daniel Jones come out at some point. I would bet Anthony Richardson probably starts the year.
Yeah, he definitely starts, but I don't know if he ends the year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But yeah, let's see. Russell Wilson, we still have to.
Don't know what the heck they're doing with him.
He's visited Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and New York.
I was about to say, he's visited New York.
I think those are the 3 he's visited that I've seen. Jameis has been thrown around as kind of, he's potentially a bridge quarterback. And then also, again, Kirk Cousins is potentially on the trade market. It'll be interesting because most likely the Falcons will have to eat a lot of that cap space.
Yeah.
But yeah, like looking at other guys who are available outside of the quarterback position, Amari Cooper is still available.
Coopers, yes, he's still out there.
Stephon Diggs.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about him.
Any destinations for those 2?
I wouldn't be surprised if Cooper went to the Titans.
Cooper to the Titans?
I don't know why. I can see that.
Interesting.
If not, Amari Cooper back to the Raiders?
You know, I was actually thinking like Raiders or Seahawks, but I completely forgot that that's where it even started.
Yep.
That would be
Be kind of a good reunion, sort of.
it'd be interesting to see.
For Stephon Diggs, though, I'm not quite sure yet.
Patriots.
That'd be funny.
No, because
But would they sign him though? That's the thing.
I think with how much of a mess he is, I just don't even know.
I don't think the Patriots want to deal with that.
I could see Titans for him as well. I don't know.
The
It's an
Titans
interesting
need
case.
Titans need everything. Giants need just quarterback. At least, well, in the sense of this year in the draft, they just need quarterback.
Quarterback would be good to
focus.
focus on. They just need something to work on.
Yeah.
But,
Once they get a quarterback, they need to focus on everything else.
yeah. Stephon Diggs, I have no idea. Cam Robinson's still available. He's the top
yeah.
tackle on, well, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
The top tackle, because I think I haven't seen anything about Tyron Smith or Kelvin Beachum. Tyron Smith being the most notable name. He might have signed somewhere, but I haven't
I don't know.
clocked him anywhere. Other people to have moved. Running backs have been kind of slow to be taken, I feel like.
There's not been a whole lot of incentive to go look for a running back right now for some reason. I don't understand why.
Yeah, because we still got. I mean, a lot of it is like injury with some of them. Top
Yeah.
two being J.K. Dobbins, Nick Chubb.
Yep.
Where do they go? Who are they going to be able to stay healthy? Is their main question.
I want Nick Chubb to stay healthy. I just want him to have one year where he's really good, stays healthy on that entire season. Maybe gets a ring.
I think Chubb probably goes back to Cleveland too,
I wouldn't be surprised.
on like a smaller deal. Jalen Warren appears to be available. Keenan Allen, do we maybe see him go
Keenan
back
Allen.
to the Chargers as well?
It's possible. I wouldn't be surprised, but also he wouldn't be a bad bridge / backup / beginning of the year starter for the Bears.
So you think maybe back to the Bears?
Probably. I see more leaning towards the Bears, but I wouldn't be surprised if he went back to the Chargers.
I think that is probably about it for this week. As far as updates for free agency.
But it's exciting. Obviously, we're still waiting for a couple things to happen. Aaron Rodgers. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. That was a lot of news. Hopefully, you enjoyed all that news, especially our opinion, especially our opinions on it, because I know that we can be pretty opinionated on some of these picks or decisions by certain teams, or no decisions, like not doing anything about it. But thank you all again. We're trying to figure stuff out. Obviously, we're going to start doing mock drafts eventually, because that's coming up soon. I know we're going to be streaming at least the first day for the draft.
Yep.
At the very least. But we shall see, and we shall find out what is going to happen. The draft is coming. Run. But thank you all for joining us, and we shall see you soon. See ya.
Bye.